Hey bio fans, Anya here from the Biography Wrap, and today we are going to explore the life of Aron Ralston through the movie 127 Hours, directed by Danny Boyle. The film opens with Aron documenting his journey on April 25, 2003. He decides to go hiking alone in Canyoneer National Park in Utah without telling anyone. During the night, he camps in his car and goes on his journey with his bicycle the next day. On the way, he meets an accident, but he continues on. Upon reaching the canyons, he parks his cycle and continues on foot. He meets Christy and Megan on the way and introduces himself as a mechanical engineer. He shows them an underground pond. They jump into it through a narrow pathway between two canyons and enjoy their time, then head on their way. Aron drops them off and heads on alone. While going through a slot canyon in Blue John Canyon, he loses his grip and falls, knocking a boulder that traps his right arm against the wall. He tries to push the boulder away, slide his hand out, use his full body strength, but the boulder doesn't budge. He starts drinking all his water, but realizes he should save it. He then tries calling for Christy and Megan, but realizes he is all alone. Aron then keeps his belongings on the boulder and looks through everything. He finds a pocket knife and starts trying to chip away the rock, but has no success. While doing that, the knife slips from his hand and falls under the boulder. He uses a small branch to get it back. Night falls and Aron continues chipping away at the rock, but is unsuccessful. He takes his climbing rope and, after multiple attempts, loops it around another rock, thus creating a pulley system. He then waits for the night to pass and struggles to keep warm. The sun rises in the morning, and he is relieved. Aron recalls the time his father took him to the canyon when he was young, and they both looked at the beautiful and peaceful sunrise. Then he begins recording with his camera, and tells it is Sunday, April 27, 2003. It had been 24 hours since he was stuck in the Blue John Canyons. He lists his parents' names, Larry and Donna Ralston, and says whoever finds the recorder can keep it. He just wants it to reach his parents. He shows his hand stuck. His thumb had gone a gray-blue color, and had been stuck for 24 hours without circulation. He says that he is low on food, and that he only has 300 to 400 milliliters of water left. It seems as if he heard someone on the top of the canyon, and he starts shouting for help, but it was to no avail. By saying not to lose it repeatedly, he keeps himself motivated. Later that night, the temperature drops, and he covers himself in ropes and gets under a piece of clothing to stay warm. Suddenly, he begins hallucinating about being at Christy and Megan's party and drinking Mountain Dew. He takes off his contact lenses and eats them for dinner. He also hallucinates speaking with his friends and his mother. It is now Monday, and Aron is still trying to move the boulder. Using his climbing ropes and his body weight, he ties the boulder and makes a pulley system to try to move it, but fails. As a result of his thirst, he starts having hallucinations about drinking cold drinks, but he cannot drink much water because he doesn't have much left. As he starts his camera and records himself, he describes every piece of equipment he would need to set himself free. According to him, he only has 150 milliliters of water left, which should keep him alive until the next day. He further states that he peed in a camel bag. Its smell was unsettling, but he hopes it will settle. A raven flies over him at 8:17, and at 9:30, he gets 15 minutes of sunlight that helps him keep warm. Later, he explains that he has continued chipping at the rock in order to keep warm, and he realizes that his hand is supporting the rock, so the more he chips away, the more it settles. In an attempt to set himself free, he clamps his hand with a tourniquet, and then tries to cut his hand with his pocket knife, but it is too blunt. Aron recalls the time he recorded his sister playing the piano. He drops his water bottle, thereby losing some of the precious and scarce water that he had been trying to save. He starts hallucinating about happy times with his girlfriend when lightning strikes, and it starts raining heavily. He drinks the water and collects it in his bottle, but soon the canyon begins filling up with water. He is deep in water with just his head above the water level. He dunks inside the water, is able to pull his hand out because the water made everything slippery, gets to his car and drives to his girlfriend's house. She shuts the door on his face, which forces him to come back to reality and realize that he is still stuck in the canyon. Then on Tuesday, he records himself once again and starts to have a talks-how with himself, speaks to himself in different voices, portrays and converses with different people. He realizes that even if a coworker reports him missing, the police will likely hold the investigation for 24 hours. He won't officially be missing until mid-Wednesday, and by the time they start looking for him, he might already be dead. Following this, he thanks his parents for everything they've done, and closes the camera. He proceeds to drink his last sip of water. His heart begins to beat faster and faster, and he stabs himself in the arm with his pocket knife to feel for the bone, and then removes it. He licks some of his blood. Later that night, he drinks some of his own pee to survive and not die of dehydration. He then looks through the recording of Christy, Megan and himself while at the underground pool, and is about to masturbate, but stops himself. He starts inscribing something on the rock. While doing so, he starts hearing voices and gets scared. The following day he hallucinates the time when his girlfriend broke up with him because of his own mistakes. As he records himself, he says that it feels like his heart is beating 3 times faster than it should be. He hallucinates Blue John being there and talking to him, and continues having thoughts of his ex-girlfriend. Then he sees his entire family sitting on a couch in the middle of the canyon. Despite his best efforts, he is unable to attend his sister's wedding. After that, he records himself saying that he is here because of his own mistakes and choices and feels as if the boulder has been waiting for him since he was born. R.I.P. Aron Ralston is what he had etched on the rock. He falls asleep and wakes up to see a child version of himself playing with his mother. He gets back to reality and tries pulling his hand out, but he breaks his bone in the process. When it breaks further, he uses his pocket knife to slowly cut it open. He starts losing a lot of blood, so he ties a rope around his hand to lessen the bleeding and continues cutting. By inserting his finger inside the cut part, he pulls some muscle strands out and cuts them, causing extreme pain. He imagines little Aron looking at the struggle and continues sawing his arm off. Eventually, he is able to free himself from the boulder. He uses some spare cloth and ropes to secure his cut arm, takes his things and goes on hiking ahead. He continues walking and soon gets out of the canyon in the open. He rejoices when he finds a small puddle of water down the rock he was on. With the help of one hand, he slowly descends 65 feet down the rock face using his climbing rope. He reaches the water and throws himself in it. He fills up his bottle and drinks the water multiple times, trying to quench his thirst. After cleaning himself with some water, he continues on his way. Aron continues walking and hiking in the extreme sun for over 8 miles, with blood dripping continuously from his stump. Then he spots a family and calls for help. They give him water. Aron continues walking with the family behind him. He refuses to stop and rest, insisting that he has to keep going. 2 of the 3 family members run ahead and call for help. Aron continues walking with the 3rd person and soon runs into 2 more hikers who offer him more water and ask him to sit down. Aron waits a while and soon helicopters arrive and he is taken to the nearest hospital and saved. A pictorial epilogue shows that Aron gave multiple interviews, continued swimming, and enjoyed his life to the fullest. A textual epilogue then states that Aron went on with his life, got married to his now wife, Jessica, and had a son named Leo. He continued climbing and canyoneering, but now always leaves a note stating where he is going. That's it from the movie 127 Hours. If you enjoyed it, consider subscribing. Let me know what you thought of this true story, and make sure to check out this next one.